right, we are going to get started, and hopefully we have a couple of stragglers coming in.
Next
Like
to
this
start
one.
with call him.
Yeah. So if you are here to talk about accessibility, inclusivity, disability, humanity, you are in the right room. If you're here to talk about bloggers, you gotta head down the hall. Everyone where you're supposed to be? Okay, awesome. Take a second. You don't have to answer out loud, though Matt may choose to do so. Why are you in this session? There are really amazing sessions happening down the hallway. I was kind of pissed who I got paired with at the same time. Thanks, Jamie. Why did you choose this session? And again, you can say it in your head, but just pause for 10 seconds. Okay. Does anyone want to share why they chose this session? Yeah.
I saw Dave walking in, so I thought it was a good idea.
Love it. That's totally valid. Totally valid answer. So I am Meghan Connolly Haupt, and I used to work for the NYSBA, which is how I know many of you. It was my pleasure to serve the organization. I am grateful and appreciative that I was invited back this year to present on my new business, which is, I'm sure you can guess it, Inclusive Saratoga. And so I worked for the NYSBA for 9 years. I still work in the industry with craft beer professionals, with Andrew Copeland. I'm an advisor to that company. And why I talk about disability is very personal. I have 2 children. One is 11, and she was born 4 months prematurely. She was the size of a peanut butter jar in weight and in girth when she was born. She has cerebral palsy, and she has a speech disorder. So 11 years ago, in an instant, I found myself in the disability community, which is where I now live. So I've started Inclusive Saratoga to take all the skills that I honed through my role at the NYSBA and the life I lead in the disability community and merge the two. So we work with businesses, breweries, restaurants, hotels, any business, to be inclusive of individuals with disabilities. And I'm lucky enough to have Tony Martini present with me today. He is an ADA specialist, and you can introduce yourself.
And also the best name.
Thank you, appreciate that. My name is Tony Martini. I'm an architect, and I have about 12 years of experience within the construction industry, construction management, architecture, as well as I have personally been involved in a camp called Double H Ranch up in Lake Luzerne area, and it's a camp for kids with serious illnesses, in which I volunteered in the ski program as well as during the summer programs, and I've seen firsthand what accessibility and inclusivity can do for all sorts. So, yeah.
Before we go to the next slide, this room is not packed, but every single person here, this is a big step forward. You all represent a step on the path of disability inclusivity. The decision-making committee, the conference committee that chooses the abstracts that get selected to present at the conference, unanimously chose the topic of disability inclusivity. So even if nothing else happens beyond this point, I think this is a win. This is a win for us, this community, to be unanimously selected to be here and to have all of you in the room. I'm absolutely overwhelmed with gratitude that this many people care about what we're talking about disability rights. So the first slide we're going to hit you with, 28%. That's how many adults living in the United States have a disability. If your business is not actively accommodating persons with disabilities, you are missing out on 28% of your customer base. There is no research to suggest that people with disabilities do not drink craft beer. 0. So we have to assume, by virtue of being an adult in this country, the same statistics apply to individuals with disability. They want to drink beer. Let's make it easy for them to do so. And you will see a return on investment. I promise you. Is this number higher than you would have guessed? Yeah? Some of you are like, no, I totally would have guessed. Maybe you're in the disability space. I don't know. It was higher than I would have guessed. to be honest with you, but how many people, I don't know how many people in this room, but let's put it in a quadrant, right? And picture that. Of the people in this room, you know, the gentleman in the pink sweatshirt, Matt, Fanny, Ann, David, and then a couple over here, would all be disabled in this number of people, right? That's a lot. So you have employees and you have customers with disabilities. You just don't know. And when you say, well, we don't get people with disabilities to come into our brewery, A, that's false, and B, you would have a lot more if you put in a little bit of effort to accommodate individuals with disabilities. So I want to take a moment and do a quick guided visualization. How many people here work in a brewery, own a brewery manager, you have like a home base of a brewery? Is that everyone? Okay, great. And you've been to enough. You can pick one. Okay. You don't have to stay here because you know you can't play favorites. Okay. So let's pick the disability. Let's go with Kristen. Does anyone know Kristen Lunkenheimer's Locum, our board member? Right? Okay, so she is temporarily, right, disabled. How many people saw her get on stage yesterday? Did anyone feel remotely uncomfortable?
Yeah, I was like, where's the freaking ramp?
Yeah. That would be a logical question. Where was the ramp? Is it too expensive to put a ramp in? Is it too hard? Like, why didn't it happen, right?
You just make the steps adjustable to the ramp and the steps.
Yeah, okay, don't do our presentation. Stick to brewing, man.
HP contractor too.
But obviously, like, please participate, right? Like, I'm not standing up here, Tony's not standing here telling you the answers. There are no definitive answers. There's no book you can buy. Julie recommends some great business books. I can't recommend a book that's like, here's your guidebook to accessibility and inclusivity. It doesn't exist. I am an expert. I'm learning as I go, right? And this is a process. There's no such thing, you would never, no business, Double H Ranch, which caters to disabled kids, is not accessible in many ways, right? There's no endpoint. Again, it's steps forward. You make any steps forward, you feel good about it. So, yeah, Kristen getting on stage yesterday, like people told me how uncomfortable it was to watch that, and you don't have to speak if you don't want to, Kristen, but if I were Kristen, not only would I see the discomfort of my audience, I would feel uncomfortable, right? It would be uncomfortable and awkward. But fortunately, hopefully, Kristen is just temporarily disabled. But Kristen has insight into living with a disability. How many weeks ago was it?
3 weeks ago was the surgery, 4 weeks ago was the break.
4 weeks ago, okay. So 4 weeks ago, her life changed in an instant. Her perception of the world changed in an instant. Now, I don't wish that on anybody. Certainly didn't wish on Kristen, one of the nicest people I've ever met, right? But when you put yourself in that position, even just through visualization, you're starting to get a flavor for your customer's experience. So let's pick a mobility issue. Most people immediately go to a wheelchair user. There's a whole spectrum of mobility issues before you get to wheelchair. Pick it, I don't care. Crutches, a wheelchair, a walker. Stand in your parking lot, okay, of your brewery. Standing there. How are you getting into your establishment? Okay, you don't have to answer some of things again. Like, if you want to close your eyes, do it. Picture yourself going in. Is it very clear where you go? Is it convenient where you go? Is it comfortable? Is it well marked? You know, are there changes of elevation? Does it go from paved to gravel or cinder? What is the experience just getting to your door? Okay, think about that. Then, get into your establishment. Does the door pull out? Does it push in? Is it hands-free? Anyone have hands-free? Okay, no one gets a point. Is it a rotating door? Like, how are you getting in the establishment with a mobility issue? And let's just assume what's that?
What kind of handle is it?
Yeah, exactly. So let's just say you're alone, right? But that 28%, again, is only the person with a disability. Most people are not. Most people are with their family, their friends, right? So like in my case, my daughter has a disability. She doesn't go anywhere without the rest. So that's four. That's four people, two of which are beer drinkers that are affected by that 28% stat, right? Okay, so you're trying to get in the building. Let's say you get in, no problem. You're in your brewery. How do you get to a seat? A seat. Pick a seat. Do you have options? Do you have high top and low top? Do you have seats indoor and outdoor? Do you have seats that are, easily like at a right height, so it's easy to kind of maneuver your walker to sit down? Are the seats stagnant? Do they turn? Do they swivel? How easy is it for you to take a seat with a mobility disability, let's say? And then you have to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? Is it clearly marked? What does the signage look like? If I've had a couple beers, is it really obvious that it's the bathroom? Okay, I see where the bathroom is. You get to the bathroom. What is the door of the bathroom? Can you get in the bathroom? Is it easy to get in the bathroom? Is there an accessible stall in the bathroom that's big enough for you to maneuver? That takes up a lot of space, right? What is the experience of the bathroom? Can you easily reach the toilet paper dispenser from the toilet with your mobility issue? Okay, you figure that part all out, you go out, can you wash your hands? Can you reach the soap? How do you dry your hands? And then getting back out, right? So just think about your establishment for a second of having a mobility issue, which is, of course, one of infinite number of disabilities you could have, right? I just chose that one because Kristen was here. I often will use someone who's low vision or blind to go through that experience. So that's homework for you is to do that exercise with someone who is low vision or blind.
So I'll add to that. Get a wheelchair and try it. Because we thought we were pretty accessible. We were probably the most accessible business in our village. And we have learned is that as accessible as we are, we're already considering changes in how we run things. It's been a challenge. We thought we had the space. We don't have big rises and runs. Our thresholds are, a millimeter or two at best. And we're like, well, that's not accessible in a wheelchair or not easily accessible. We thought it was, but until you're in those shoes, you don't know. Grab a wheelchair. Have a friend that has one and just try it.
Or better yet, I'm going to take a step further, even though I love where you're going with this. Get someone who is a wheelchair user. In this case, you had one. Don't just get a wheelchair. Reach out, and this is actually a couple slides down. So you guys are all overachievers. We're jumping ahead a little bit here.
Sorry.
Yeah, literally we're on the first slide. And we have to do this on Tuesday in 45 minutes as opposed to an hour. So, invite people to your brewery. Actively engage with people with disabilities. So Barclays, the big financial institution, you've all heard of them, hired actors and actresses. This was about 2 months ago. It was in the media. These are the media I follow. Hired actors to pretend they had different disabilities, a whole spectrum, to go in and rate the whole customer service experience. Love that they wanted that data. Really hate the way that they were trying to get that data. Not only is it insulting to have actors pretend that they have a disability, and they couldn't possibly understand what it's like to live with a disability, but that's like the one thing people are most qualified to do. And we know people with disabilities have a hard time finding revenue streams, finding jobs, finding income. It's literally their biggest asset. And then they hire someone. So don't be Barclays. Go out and find people with disabilities. And I will tell you how to do that. I will help you do it because I'm sure off the top of your head you're like, oh, I can just call this person or whatever. And pay them. Pay them to give you the feedback. It'll be worth it. Be good ROI. All right, can we move on from this slide? Are we ready? You guys feel like you're comfortable with the statistic now? Okay. Hand it over to Tony.
All right, so there's three kind of levels of accommodation for what we're talking about here. There's obviously ADA compliance, which is the code, what the absolute minimum needs to be for your project, for your facility. 99% of you are most likely code compliant, which is the absolute bare minimum. And then it gets to accessible, which is more along the lines of what you guys are talking about with having either a ramp to get in as well as some steps, having proper signage to the certain bathrooms, maybe having an ADA stall but not having a family stall. You have that stall available to somebody. And then there's inclusive. And that is when you kind of eliminate the barriers even further and it's even more for everybody. And a good example of that is perhaps kind of Double H Ranch, where the camp, although it's not fully compliant as all the time, one thing they strive themselves on is if they're going to make a modification to a building or a facility, they will strive towards having just a ramp, not stairs and a ramp, to make sure that, because everyone can use a ramp, not everyone can use stairs. So I'm trying to include everybody in the alterations you make to your facility.
It's called universal design, right? So you're designing for did I jump in?
No, you're good, you're good.
You're designing for 100% of the people as opposed to 72% of the people, right? Because when you're accommodating an individual with a disability, you're automatically accommodating people without disabilities. That's why it's kind of crazy in our culture, in our society, that we don't universally design things. I mean, down to things like forks, right? Like, we're not just talking about buildings, but
Or the handle to get into the room. Or the bathrooms in the family stall versus having it be just all individuals that are not fully ADA compliant. So stuff like that is important.
so this slide really should be like ADA compliant is the bare minimum, right? You're all doing that, great, which is good, right? Like that, you get like a C.
Good job.
You passed. Accessible, right? That's going to kick you up into the B category. You're B plus, right? You're accessible. That's more beyond the physical space. And then inclusive, which again, like you can't get an A plus. You know, you guys over here are going to try for the A plus because that's who you are. You're not going to get it because there's no A plus. It doesn't exist, right? It's always going to be a moving target for you. But inclusive is, in a perfect world, this is what we're doing. We're designing places and experiences and events to include everybody so that everybody can participate equally, right? And there's a big difference between included and inclusive.
Because that ramp, it includes them, but it's not inclusive where everyone can use the same ramp. So they have a separate path to get in versus having it all as well.
Right.
So.
Anyone have any questions or anything you want to share at this point in time? Okay. We do an email sheet. Where is it? Who's got the email sheet? Okay. Pass that around. I want everyone's email on it so that we can send you this presentation and then maybe some bonus material. You guys are really good. I'm just saying. You're really good. We do have a quiz, and I'm not kidding about that. We do actually have a quiz. Okay. Tony, keep going with ADA.
All right, so what is the ADA? Honestly, it's a federal law passed in 1990 and then updated in 2009.
Who grew up before 1990? Oh my God, so many of us in this room. It's the aging industry. Okay, 1990. That is not that long ago. Like, I was 18 years old in 1990. Isn't that kind of like, isn't this kind of crazy? We only enacted legislation for individuals with disabilities, which is like pretty paltry legislation even, in 1990.
Minimum.
So, like I said, every step counts.
Okay, so what it is it's basically a number of acts within it, but ones that primarily pertain to you guys is what ensures equal access to public spaces through reasonable accommodations. That's kind of key. The reasonable accommodations that comes in a little bit later, and accessible features in public spaces. So that's both for your employees as well as the visitors to your facility. And there's two different big portions. How many people here own a brewery? Physical space brewery. All right. So that, for you guys, it may be mainly in the alterations category within this. And then when it comes to new construction, ADA applies to you pretty much full bore. But within alterations and additions, there are reasonable accommodations that need to be met. So accessible elements. Here's all the different, some of the many options that can be done for the facility, everything from the physical space for ramps, automatic doors, as you mentioned, push buttons to entry and exits, small thing, or electricity. Grab bars in bathrooms should be there, but if your building was already a certain facility and then you moved into that facility, you weren't changing its use, so that apply. But it would be nice to have those in there. Family bathrooms, change tables, clear widths and aisles, adequate lighting. I don't know if that's always understood, but properly light your space so someone can actually see where they need to go, where the bathrooms are. I know we like the ambiance of the lower lighting sometimes, but it is a requirement to have a certain level of lighting in your space. Obviously, accessible parking spaces, and then wheelchair accessible bar. With that one specifically, it's not only for the person sitting at the bar drinking your beer, but also your staff who may be in a wheelchair need to be able to serve from a lower height bar. In fact, don't make it just the minimum of 36 inches, make it larger. People have friends with them when they're in a wheelchair.
Right? Kristen wants to sit by herself.
So if you're sitting by yourself at the cash register,
Derek's sitting over here.
and then you're over here, it's not gonna be comfortable.
It's not bad.
Yeah. All right, fair. For you guys, a little
We're
different.
not getting into interpersonal issues. That's a different session. Oh, wait, before you leave. So this one, the family bathrooms, is a really personal thing for me. Newbury opened up. I have to go see it right away. I'm not gonna share the name of the brewery. It was phenomenal. So proud to have it in New York State. The beer, amazing. The experience, the customer service, the food, the ambiance, everything. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's so close to me. I'm gonna be here all the time. And then I went to the bathroom.
Exactly.
Gender-specific bathrooms are a bad idea. You turn away so many customers. And this is not just about disability. This is about parents with little kids. This is about aging. This is about a very broad percentage of our population. So my daughter's 9. She's 3. Well, no, she's 11 next month. She was 9 when I first started. Okay. She can use the bathroom independently, but she really should have supervision. And the supervision could be a caretaker or her parents or. And so if it's a gender-specific bathroom, she can mostly be independent, but she needs from there. That means my husband can't take her to the bathroom. He can't take her to the men's room because she's 11, and that's weird and creepy. And he can't go into the women's room for the same reasons, right? So what is he supposed to do? He's not going to go to that brewery is the answer, despite the phenomenal beer and the customer service and all these other check boxes. He's not going to go because the bathroom situation is not acceptable for our family. So to the extent that you can, if you can make one change at all, one thing, that would be my recommendation. Like one physical thing. Something that actually costs you money, because I'll talk about free things in a minute, but is to change your bathrooms so that they are gender neutral, right? Like Krista was telling me her son has had to step up and be a caretaker to her in a lot of ways. Well, if she needed help washing her hands in the bathroom because she couldn't reach the sink, her son could help her if it was a gender neutral bathroom. So, how many people here have a gender neutral bathroom? Oh, I love it. That's a really nice percentage. It's a really, really nice percentage. And those of you that don't, this is not like a criticism. This is not you've done something wrong. This is like, okay, if you have an opportunity to change it, if there's any way you can change it, it's going to have a big impact.
And then, so this is a very broad overview of what I'm discussing regarding the code. So the code obviously is quite large, it's quite detailed. So this is a very broad overview of everything. I'll give you that context because this is specifically pertaining to alterations to a building. And the reason I bring this up is because more often than not, you're going to be moving into a space. It's not as often that these days, at least, to be having a brand new brewery where ADA needs to be fully met. With that said, say you have a $100,000 project, and you want to make AD alterations, but a large portion of your renovation is going to come to trying to accomplish all of these, and it's over 20% of your budget. So $20,000 can only get you, say, the first two off this list. The code allows you to do that. The code allows you to, the priority based on this list would be accessible entrance and accessible route to your primary function, which more often than not, you might have a pretty accessible route to the bar, to the back. But when it comes to the restroom access, stuff like that, if say you were only able to pay for the first two, the code allows that to happen, where you can start with the accessible entrance and go on down from there. That's not saying you shouldn't do as much as you possibly can. I'm just giving you a little bit of a, okay, like there's a code minimum and there's a requirement there.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Hope I can answer it.
Yes, I can, but, so I'm on my board. There's a lot of money out there for us to do ADA compliant playgrounds, grant money.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so my question is, and I kind of know the answer, but on this avenue of you're doing a renovation project and you want to be ADA compliant, is there money out there? You know, you can do 1, 2, but you can't afford 3, but can you get money to do 3?
More often than not, yes, there should be within your local grant funding that's available, like you just said, BRIs, things of that sort, but it does require some legwork.
Right.
Grants require grant writing. It require answering.
Go for it.
Tony, isn't that an area where Saratoga Associates does really
That is-
differentiate, is you help with the grant funds for?
Try not to push Saratoga, but yes, we do, as a firm,
Well,
we
you
do
did,
that.
I promote.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Megan, for all of this. But yeah, it's one of the things that it is not an easy process, but it is something that our firm does have access to, and we have done for municipalities, wineries, stuff like that. So it helps. It's funding. It's out there for you guys. So people want to revitalize your communities, and more often than not, a brewery is a great place to do that. It's a meeting place.
And so if you're already thinking about like, okay, we want to follow the ADA compliance, we're going to go through these grants. If you're already in the mix, like keep going, right? Go straight for the inclusivity tier. Don't stop at the ADA tier. Is this where our quiz comes?
This is
Yeah,
really quick.
you're going here. Okay. We have a true-false quiz about service animals. Because there are a lot of nuances to it, and this is probably a really important issue in the types of businesses that you all run. So, does a no-dog policy apply to service animals? Yes or no?
No.
Exactly. Okay, so you guys all have the other point for that. Service animals are trained to perform specific tasks. Yes. Absolutely, they have to be. That is the definition of a service animal, is that they are trained to perform a specific task. And that is literally the only question that you can ask about it. Okay, which I may have answered another question in saying that. Only dogs can be service animals. False. What's the other animal?
Horse.
What? Parents?
A miniature horse.
A miniature horse.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is, it's dog or miniature horse. How many miniature horses do you get in your establishment? It's like, it's very bizarre. Who thought,
Unless you're here
we're
to
gonna
just.
just like that in as well.
Yeah.
Big horse did that.
Yeah, some like lobbyists
Good
for
old
the
big
miniature horses, I don't know. Okay, service animals must wear a designation. No, that one actually people usually get wrong. They do not need to wear any sort of identification. Staff can request documentation. Dan,
Can I stop you there?
yes?
So, okay, under county health, I can't have dogs or animals inside the main part of the brew house.
Yep.
But under county health, I can have service animals, but the service animals don't need to be, so at what level of questioning am I
Literally,
responsible for?
legally, the only question you can ask is this, we'll assume dog, not miniature horse.
Yeah,
Is this
although that would be
dog
cool.
trained to do a specific task? And the answer is yes, then they are a service animal. And that's it. Okay, we're moving down here. We're jumping ahead. service animals can go anywhere a person can go. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, so if you give brewery tours and you're going back through your brewing operations, the health code is telling you, no, you can't have animals there.
Yeah.
But the ADA code is telling you, yes, you can have service animals there. This trumps. So you have to allow service animals to go anywhere a person goes, even if it's kind of gross, back in, that's my own feeling on animals, back in the brewing operations. Yeah, I know, it's a little tricky. Okay, certification is required. Sorry, yes.
Oh, I just wanted to go back on the question about the task, and this might be so I work in both Massachusetts and New York, so the rules might be a little bit different.
Okay, and I should have said up front, this entire presentation is US based.
Okay, so at least to my understanding, if you ask if it's been if it is trained to do a task and the answer is yes, I believe you're also allowed to ask what task it has been trained to perform, and that is, a lot of people have fought back about this because they don't want to give more details. But I do think that in the same vein, it's helpful to know what the task is in case you need to call for medical attention.
Right, yes, you're right. The specific task can be answered, that is a legal question. Yeah. Where are we? So certification required for that animal to be a service animal.
No,
Maybe.
show them.
Not so, that's required.
Yeah.
So there is no certification. There's no such thing as a service animal certification. They have to be trained, but they can be trained by the owner. They don't have to be sent to guide dogs for the blind or anything like that. I know, right? Like when you really start digging in, you're like, oh my God, I'm a business owner, I have a restaurant, I have customers with dog allergies, like I'm trying to do the right thing here. You can get in a really sticky position really quickly.
Someone had a dog that was trained for a service, and knowing what it takes to go through that training, to have someone just say, and knowing dog owners, it's absurd.
Yeah. And they say
So-
emotional
Kind of we're a city where everyone says their dog is a service.
That's
Yes.
my point.
Yeah, yes.
She trained the dogs that we had in the past. She was trained, she was a traffic dog, she was a rescue dog. And the amount of training she had to put that dog through to get that. To think that an owner can say, oh, this is my whatever dog.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no certification, there's no documentation, there's no identification.
We have, I know a customer that comes in with a dog, it's, I know it's not certified, just based on its behavior.
Yeah.
Or even them, it is. Again,
What do you do in that situation? Someone comes in, they say, yes, service dog, but the dog's like a disruption, and it's obviously not. Like, what do you do in that situation?
That's a good question.
Especially since like dogs, a lot of people are scared of dogs. So you have someone in there with a dog that's like barking and stuff, and you can't be like, leave.
Yep.
Actually, you can.
Sorry, what's your name?
Allie.
Sorry?
Allie.
Allie?
I just had to recently do a very deep dive on service animals, and so if the animal, no matter what level of training, is creating a nuisance or is misbehaving in a certain way that is causing a problem for everyone, then you are allowed to ask them to leave.
Yes, yes, you are. And now that's subjective too, right? Like, and I have pretty low tolerance for animals. And so like for me, what I think is disruptive may not be the same for Chloe, who owns like 10 dogs, right? So yeah, this is why this is a very tricky subject. Yes?
What happens when they come in with like a 5-pound chihuahua and they're like, this is my emotional support animal?
So emotional support animals are not the same thing.
Say.
They are not considered service animals, and that person, like if they say emotional, then they're outing themselves.
Yeah.
You do not, that falls under no dog policy or dog policy. You don't have to let them in. That.
So I do insurance for a living. Please, if you have a situation like this, document every aspect of the interaction with this person. I've seen claims where like someone just got like agitated because it was a supposed service dog and it wasn't, but there still was a lawsuit that popped up because of it. So make sure that if there's any incident, that should be like number one on your list of all your employees. If there is an incident with any sort of dog service or otherwise, full report every time. Because the people who are claiming that it's a service dog and it's not are also the first ones to sue. So just keep that in mind.
Good. Last question. You can charge for service animals? No, you can't. You can't. that was maybe like a gimme. Okay, so that's our quiz.
That's 14 dogs here.
Okay, moving on from service animals. This is where, who saw Julie's keynote this morning? Everybody, phenomenal, right? She's awesome. What she was talking about was a perfect feeder to this session. I like it, as you can guess, I'm super shy, and it was really hard for me, but I almost stood and was like, go to the session about disability inclusivity, because everything she was talking about just feeds right into this part of the presentation, right? We already talked about the fact that more than a quarter of your potential customers have a disability, so you already know that you want to improve your market by 28%. You enhance your disability inclusivity, right? So we already talked about that. In 2023, Bart Watson. That's right. We're filming this part for Bart because I didn't get a chance to tell him that he inspired this presentation.
You ready?
Now I'm going to like screw it up. You know, on camera.
Doing good.
All right, do it right now. All right, ready? Here we go. All right.
You ready?
In 2023.
Wait.
That was user error.
I will prompt you. Action.
In 2023, Bart Watson, who is now the CEO of the Brewers Association, he was not then, he gave a keynote address at the Craft Brewers Conference, which this year is in Indianapolis. It's a really great resource for you all to attend that too. He spoke about the fact that breweries need to be more creative in finding new customers. That was 2 years ago that I sat through that presentation, and I wanted to tell him before he left today that he inspired this presentation, because this is a total untapped market. There is a brewery in Colorado called Brewability. Their entire mission is disability inclusivity. It doesn't have to be your mission. This can be kind of dovetailed into your existing brand and into your existing mission, like Julie was talking about, right? It can be a differentiator for you to stand out. Because anything you do toward being more inclusive of individuals with disability is going to be more than your competitors, right? Because not every brewery is in this room. They're not all getting this, right? But you are. Okay, so there are 6 key areas that being more inclusive of individuals with disabilities can affect your business. Increased customers, right? We talked about that, that's obvious. Improved reputation, reduced risk, Matt talking about lawsuits, right? Better employee morale, whether or not your employees have disabilities, especially the younger generations, we know that employees like to work for businesses that are socially conscious. More community support and competitive differentiation, right? This is all the stuff that Julie was just talking about this morning. So there's a large music venue in Saratoga called SPAC. Who goes to SPAC for shows? Awesome, love that place. I met with the CEO recently, and she was really frustrated because they had just spent all this money upgrading their bathrooms, and she was really proud of them. The very first show after that upgrade, there was a patron who was using a wheelchair and had a really bad experience in the bathroom and wrote a scathing op-ed in the Times Union. And Elizabeth, the CEO, was really frustrated about it. She said, why didn't they come to us? Why didn't they come talk to us rather than going to the media? And I said, because you have zero credibility with the disability community. You have never done anything to reach out and show that you understand, care, want to help, nothing. I said, so you were starting at 0. So they had to get some attention quickly on this issue. If you had ever done anything, they never would have gone to the media. They would have come to you and been like, hey, here's an area of improvement, right? So this is important when it comes to reduced risk, improved reputation, employee morale, right? Anything you do, you gotta share it. There's the last piece of what Julie was talking about. You have to communicate it. And that's where you really get all the benefits of the inclusivity efforts that you're making. Right?
And one thing you brought up before, for me, being part of the disability community, is that not only do you share bad news, like that article,
Yeah.
you're very vocal with people who go above and beyond, or even just go above,
Yep.
to include people.
Yep.
That it's a very vocal community. So it's not always the bad news that gets shared, it's also good news.
Yep.
What you're doing to include more people.
So Treehouse just opened a 1.5 miles from my house. I have not been there yet. day they opened, somebody texted me and said, they have order kiosks. How awesome is that for individuals who use wheelchairs, right? I don't know if that's why they have the order kiosks, but that was a benefit that someone in the community knew that I would care about from a disability perspective.
Is it Tony?
It was not Tony. It wasn't anyone like who knew I was doing this talk.
But they're not open, right?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Fully
fully
open.
Fully
Yes,
open,
restaurant
yeah.
going
And
there.
Yes,
confirm.
yeah, fully open,
I can confirm, fully open.
yeah,
Fully open.
yeah.
You might have been there.
Yeah, what Tony's saying here is, this community is very vocal, right? It's a pissed off community, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, like, you can only be burned so many times and stay quiet, right? So they are vocal when things are wrong, but they're equally vocal when they have a good experience. Everybody knows about it. We all know the restaurants, we all know the breweries, we all know, because we share that resource. Like, oh my God, I just went here and I had a really positive experience. Oh my gosh, really? Okay, cool. Went there this weekend, right? Where our other side goes? The next one? Oh, here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so some additional numbers to throw at you. They surveyed individuals with disabilities and found out that 70% would try a new place if they had any inkling at all that that place was going to accommodate their needs. That's a big percentage of that 28%, right? They got a little text about the kiosks, or they heard about the bathrooms, or whatever it was, right? So companies that embrace disability inclusion, this is an Accenture report from 2018, which is a little dated now. I believe the numbers are actually higher. But they found that 28% higher revenue is a result of companies embracing disability inclusivity. Now, what does that mean? It's very vague. What does embracing disability inclusivity mean? Does it mean they had a ramp? Or does it mean that they had, you gotta kind of take statistics with a little bit of grain of salt, right? But if companies self-identify as having, being in a position of embracing disability inclusivity, then they're doing stuff, right? They're making steps. And 30% higher profit margins for companies. Again, this is exactly what Julie was talking about. How can being inclusive of individuals with disabilities affect your business, affect your bottom line? Right there. It might not be 18 days, it might be 18 months, like she was talking about, right? It takes time to train people, time to get these messages out, time to make alterations. But
Grant funding isn't a short
grant funding,
period of time.
going after
You can
that.
go after it, it's gonna take a period of time to obtain that money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's steps in the right direction. Yeah. so-
Things you can be doing while you're waiting for kind of the bigger piece. There's things that you can do literally this afternoon down the path of disability inclusivity that are going to cost you nothing. Okay, so shall we get to the last slide? This is our last one. Yeah, okay. So we work in 3 pillars. Physical space, that's basically ADA. Experience and culture. And these are the 3 pillars of work. This part is free. This is costing you $0, and this is what you can do this afternoon. That stuff on the other end.
My stuff.
Tony's telling you to spend money. I'm not. I'm telling you, you can do stuff for free that's going to have a big impact. What is the number one thing you can do? Who knows it? Bonus points. Free inclusive Saratoga shirt. What is the number one thing you can do for your business to be more inclusive of people with disabilities? Don't say it, Chris.
Welcome.
Okay, you're very close. Yes,
Be empathetic. Like
Empathy. Attitude.
Attitude.
Literally changing your attitude. Free. You can, and you have, right? You people are in this session. It's all the other people that aren't here that I need to talk to. Changing your attitude of how you look at it and how you look at your business is the biggest step. Happens to be the first one, unfortunately. There's no ramp, but it's the biggest one. Is changing the way you look at this, right?
It's a good on-ramp to change.
What's that?
It's a good on-ramp to change.
Yeah. So just doing some high level, giving some high level examples in each of these 3 pillars: physical space. Tony went through lots. Flooring, right? Is it consistent flooring? You have a beautiful outside space, but do you have gravel, or do you have wood chips? Wood chips are tough. You know, what do you have for flooring? Bathrooms, we talked a lot about that. Seating, well, spacing, you're thinking about width, right, of aisles, and like when chairs are all pulled out, people always leave their chairs out, right, like can you get around and everything. But the number one thing here is options. Have some high top, have some low top, have some wide chairs. Because you don't know, right, you don't know what is gonna make Mandy comfortable, or what's gonna make me comfortable. You want everyone to be comfortable in your establishment, right? So just give a few options. That's true of menus, which falls under pillar number 2, the experience. So I went out to dinner on Wednesday night with Dan from BMI, Dan Spears, phenomenal guy. And we get to the restaurant, and we sit at a table, there's nothing on the table. And she's like, you have to order off of the website. I was like, well, where's the QR code? We don't have a QR code, you have to type the URL into your phone.
Oh.
Which I failed to do correctly about 13 times. And I'm like, well, I don't have cell service in here, so I can't access it. Oh, we have Wi-Fi. Great, what's the Wi-Fi? So the password had characters and uppercase, and when I tell you it was like a good 10 minutes between the time I said, you know, where's the menu, to like actually deciding on, like, it was painful. Now I have a master's degree, like I'm pretty smart, like maybe average. I have a phone, I had the worst experience, so I'm already pissed off. Right, the food could have been amazing. It was fine. Like, it could have been amazing, but it's hard for a business to recover from that. So I said, do you have a printed menu? Oh yeah, I do. Let me get it for you. It was printed on a dot matrix. I'm convinced of it. Wait, does everyone know a dot matrix? We already did that. Okay. So it's printed on a dot matrix in the dark, apparently, with like white print. Because I'm like, are you like, and these are my readers, right? I'm like, I seriously can't even read this menu, right? That was a horrible experience. And I'm able-bodied, I do not have any disabilities. So you want to create an experience where people don't have all these barriers to get your beer and give you money, right? Have printed menus, large print, high contrast, right? Have lighting options. Have maybe different sound experiences in your brewery. Maybe one area you have like paneling up and it's a little quieter there. So just trying to think about, like, can you create a lot of different options of experience so people can choose the one that is the best fit for them. All right, and then culture. In under culture, we talk about communication. This is the big piece I was talking about. Like, whatever you're doing, don't be afraid to talk about it. There's a lot of fear around disabilities. Fear of becoming disabled, fear of people with disabilities, not knowing. You know, you see someone in the grocery store, like, do you offer help? Do you not? How are they going to perceive it? Yeah, like, I get that. I'll give you a tip. No one with a disability is ever going to be mad that you ask them if they would like some assistance, right?
Quick reference to that. Has anyone here watched Survivor?
Yes.
When I watched the most recent season, when Jeff asked the gentleman on the show, would you like us to help you finish that sentence, or would you like me to wait for you to finish?
Right.
And what did he say? I just appreciate that you asked.
Yeah.
You asked if I needed help. That's the smallest thing, and that's all the world works on this.
It is human nature to want to be independent. Nobody likes to be in a position where they have to constantly ask for help. So if you can offer it, either verbally or physically, you're creating a nicer environment, you're creating a better experience, right? Where everyone feels comfortable and included and can have the same shared experience. So again, the feedback piece of it, right? So wherever your brewery is, there is a disability organization close by. Google it, find them, invite them to your brewery. October is Disability Awareness Month. It's not one of the sexy ones, it's not Black History Month or whatever. Let's make it something this year, right? The color's purple. You know, maybe you order shirts from Inclusive Saratoga, we sell them, that say inclusive or different designs, right? And you order them, and they have your brewery on the back, and for the month of October, that's what you're wearing, and you put up some signage about disability, you put a note on your menu about it, right? Little things you can do to show that you're thinking about this. Whether or not you have a disability, you're thinking about this stuff, okay? So October, think about now, if there's an organization you can partner with. Hey, would you like, what's your slowest night of the week? Monday? Is that pretty much it, Monday?
Tuesday.
Hey, would you like to have meetings or a social event at our brewery every Monday, right? People with disabilities don't get a lot of invitations, I'm gonna tell you that. So if you invite them into your space and say, we're not an inclusive brewery, but we really care about this community and we'd like to make some steps forward, and we'd just like you to come. You don't have to give us your feedback, and we love it, but come and have an experience at our brewery. You know, if you can $1 off a pint, great, because we already talked about the fact that individuals with disabilities struggle financially, right? So if you can give them $1, great. If you can't, that's okay. It's more about giving them a good experience where they feel seen, right? They feel part of the community. Because you can have the most amazing, new age, innovative wheelchair that zips around, and you know, like the Tesla wheelchair, doesn't matter. If you can't get into a space, what good is technology? What good is being independent, you know, working hard with your talking device or something if you can't use it in a real life experience, right? Because we know that disability inclusivity is a key tenet of a healthy community. Businesses thrive with disability inclusivity. Students are more empathetic. Empathy is one of the biggest indicators of success in life. It's not SAT scores or what college you went to, empathy and creativity. And you get that when you surround yourself with people who are different. People who have different struggles than you. Your empathy score goes up, right? So this is good for your business, it's good for your customers, and it's good for the communities in which you exist. And we all know breweries are already such important pieces of the community, right? This is just going to accentuate that. So form partnerships with organizations like Inclusive Saratoga. We work outside of Saratoga County. Staff training is a really big one too. You'd have to spend a couple dollars, bring somebody in to train your staff. I'm running out of time here, right, Tommy? Me too. Okay. So the YMCA, I met with them recently, and I said, we have a member who comes in every day at 9, and he has mobility issues. He may or may not be a huge wheelchair user, I can't remember. And I struggled to use the right terminology, you'll notice. That's okay. The words are less important than the actions, so don't worry about it. If you say, in a wheelchair, is that right? No. Don't worry about it. Keep moving forward with trying to do the right thing. Okay, so come to the YMCA every day 9. They're like, he really struggles with our locker room. The doors are heavy, they pull out, they handle, you know, the locker room itself is a huge challenge. I'm like, well, you clearly are not in a position to do your locker room, right? So what can you do? What can they do? Who's got an idea? Not.
Buy a specific locker for disability disabled people. They have, I don't know if they're things, I just put look at them.
They do. Yes.
Yeah. So what can they do that's not like such a big lift? Because that's a little bit down the road. Yeah.
A staff member comes in and opens the door.
Yeah. Yeah. They know every day at 9 this man comes in, right? You train the front staff. Before this person even struggles, right? Hey, how was your day? Great to see you back today. You don't have to say, I'm here to help, right? You just, you walk them back, have a great workout, right? You make it seamless. You just make it part of the customer experience. How is that member going to feel? Amazing, right? Oh, I have the better workouts from it. That's one thing they can do. One thing you can do, and I actually, a buddy of mine owns 2 restaurants, and I was talking about this. It's like, would you consider, on the bottom of your menu, the first thing is like one of the things you can do today, right? You can put a sentence that says something like, we want all of our customers to have a fantastic experience. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to enhance your experience here at Brewery Max, right? Most people are not going to take you up on it. but putting it out there, you're putting yourself out there, right? You're breaking down barriers. If you had 3 menus, food, beverage, accommodations, who has ever seen that? No, I haven't either. But how sexy would that be? If they're like, I'm gonna hand you out 3 menus, beverage, food, and accommodations. I would cry, like I'm crying just talking about it. I would literally cry if someone handed me a menu of accommodations, right? And what do we mean by that? That's, detail, that's this pillar. I've spent the last couple of years, I've met with a lot of people to develop that list of accommodations that you could consider, a brewery or a restaurant. Weighted silverware. No one's ever offered that. People have to remember to bring their own. But people, like somebody with ASL or Parkinson's, right? They shake a lot of times. You've seen it. A typical fork is really hard. How would they feel if you're like, I noticed that silver is a little challenging for you. Would this make your experience any better? How do you think that person would react? They'd probably cry. And then go tell the community, oh my God, this place is amazing. You'll never guess what happened to me. This was incredible. Something cheaper than that and probably more universal, readers. How many people have free readers for your customers? 3, that's really good. Good job. Good job. So I went out, 5 of us. I'm 52, as I've already said. All 5 of the readers, I'm the only one who remembered them. The waitstaff stood there, painfully stood there, as the readers got passed around the table so we could all place our orders. Go to the dollar store, get a cute little basket, stock up on readers, put them at the hostess stand, and then put a note on your menu. Of course, it'd probably be small with your pellet already there. It's like Matt said, Matt was like, hopefully accessibility session in the last room. But say, we have readers available, right? Or if you see a group of older people, like you just naturally put the basket on their table, right? As part of the training of your staff. It'll cost you $12, maybe, right? Go to the dollar store and get some readers. Because that's again, way outside that 28%. That's aging, that's like, how many people here use readers? Yeah, like half the room, right? Like, that's a good portion of your customer base. All right, so we're out of time. I would love for you to ask me any questions. Here's the QR code that's going to take you to my website where you can submit questions, sign up for my newsletter. You can also buy our merchandise, which supports disability inclusivity. And I do staff trainings. I do building walkthrough assessments. What else do I do? I create plans. I identify areas where, like, hey, we can do this to improve the customer experience. I help come up with plans, and then I help with communication of it. Because again, you're doing some great stuff. Now go out and tell everybody about it, right? Leverage it. So this is me and Tony, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, truly.